Hey everybody, I saw a couple movies, let's talk about them. One of the movies I saw was The Invisible Man by Leigh Whannell. Leigh Whannell is one of the creators of the Saw movies, and his previous directing credits include Insidious Chapter 3 and Upgrade. I don't really have much interest in the Insidious franchise because I couldn't even get into the first one, but I really enjoyed Upgrade despite some criticisms. It was a really fun movie that I could definitely watch again, and it didn't take itself too seriously overall. The Invisible Man, however, takes itself much more seriously, and in some ways it works and in other ways it doesn't. The first half of this movie was surprisingly mature in its presentation. There were a couple moments of cheese, but overall I really enjoyed what was going on. I loved the dark blue color palette, the music was decent. There was one particular shot in the kitchen that I thought was really great and artfully presented. I never thought walking into this film that I'd see shots where subtlety played such an important role in its effectiveness. There was a really good character moment where the main character gives a gift to two other characters, and that's pretty much all that was needed to make them likable. Unfortunately, despite how much I enjoyed the beginning of this movie, it really started to fall apart as it went along. If you don't want to hear spoilers for this, then just skip to this part in the video. I don't really consider these things to be spoilers because they're shown in the trailer anyway, but some people might consider them to be spoilers, so skip to this point in the video if you don't want to hear them. There's your warning. 3, 2, 1. One issue is that it got way too repetitive. A lot of it was just the same thing over and over, and the length of the film didn't really feel justified. At its core, this feels less like a horror thriller and more just like gaslighting the movie. The guy just really wants to fuck with her and make her feel like she's crazy. It was mostly just a bunch of that. The plot also didn't really make much sense, which is more forgivable for a movie that takes itself less seriously than this. He can't really follow you everywhere you're going if you just close the door and lock it. Also, there's no reason why he would have super strength at all. He was a genius in optics. I don't understand how being invisible makes him stronger than a dozen police officers. And boy, when he beat up all those officers, it was way too goofy compared to the rest of the movie. As it went along, it just felt really inconsistent. The first half of this movie felt relatively mature, and then all of a sudden it turns into Saw 6 and 7. The cops just barge in groups of 2 or 3 and get taken out each time. There were ones that clearly watched their partners being beaten up by an invisible entity, and yet they're still pointing the gun at the girl, being like, "No, don't move, just stay there, whatever." Clearly, she is not the threat here. The law enforcement in this film is some of the most incompetent ever. It was just way too silly, and I couldn't take it seriously. When she gets locked in the mental institution and the guy follows her in there, was he just planning on sitting in the corner the whole night or what? What's the battery life on this suit? It was also frustrating that the main character is spending the entire movie trying to convince other people of what's going on, but she never records anything on her fucking phone. I could understand if you don't want to whip it out in the middle of an action scene, but maybe when you find the suit, you should record something? The guy took pictures of you while you were sleeping. Why didn't you hold on to that and show anybody? It's also very difficult to believe that the guy would have washed white paint off of his suit within 2 seconds in a kitchen sink. It was just so ridiculously goofy and nonsensical, and I would have been so much more okay with it if it just went for a different tone. It was mostly frustrating because the movie built itself up so seriously, and even if all these cheeseball moments didn't exist in the film, like I said, it still got very boring and repetitive. Anyway, I didn't completely hate this movie, and as I've mentioned, there are quite a few things I enjoyed about it. Unlike Upgrade, I won't be watching this one again because the experience as a whole did not leave a great taste in my mouth. Check this one out if you want. There's a lot of people that seem to really enjoy it, and I'm giving this one a 5 out of 10. Another film I saw was Guns Akimbo, starring Daniel Radcliffe. Now, I was kind of looking forward to this movie, and I couldn't even tell you why. Maybe I'm just hoping for another fun, action-packed movie like Crank to show up out of nowhere, and although I have seen people compare this movie to Crank, I would say that they're largely different. They both have plenty of action and don't take themselves too seriously, but a big difference between these two films would have to be the tone. Unfortunately, Guns Akimbo just felt like a gorier version of Nerve. It really felt like it was trying way too hard to be a young person internet-type movie. The whole social media aspect of the film was annoying enough, but the editing choices really made it so much worse. Some of the song choices were just cringeworthy, a lot of the jokes were terrible and embarrassing.
Oh man, I can't even remember the last time I walked outside without my face in my phone. Everything looks so HD. No respawns, no one-ups, no extra lives. I just killed this fucking guy.
There was one moment where I chuckled when he was confronting his manager, and the fact that he has guns attached to his hands that he can't get off is kind of amusing for a bit. The plot is obviously stupid, and the movie knows that, but there's nothing about this film that feels really exceptional or even original. There are plenty of other movies that have done basically the same thing, and this one doesn't really feel like it justifies its own existence. It wasn't the worst experience ever, and some of the action scenes were almost kind of fun. It's the kind of movie where it's fine to watch it once and not really feel like you have to pay too much attention to it. I highly doubt I would get anything out of a second watch, and I am sure to forget about this movie real soon. Anyway, check this one out if you want. Like I said, it's not the worst thing ever, but yeah, I'm gonna, and I'm giving this one a 4 out of 10.